from a chilly Johannesburg morning. Lynette Oxley here for Tac Shack TV. This morning we are doing the first of our inserts from the front lines about gun rights in South Africa. It's going to be a weekly insert, and we're speaking to Paul Oxley, the chairperson for Gun Owners South Africa. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you, Lynette.
What can you tell us what's happening this week in gun rights in South Africa?
It's been a busy couple of weeks, hasn't it?
The Chinese proverb says, "May we live in interesting times," and we are.
Indeed. So with the case studies that we've had conducted over the last couple of weeks in KZN and also in Gauteng, the gun debate, the firearms debate, has more or less been concluded. How anybody can at this stage still maintain that firearms aren't a massive benefit to society. In fact, as we've seen over the last 2 weeks, probably the most crucial aspect of maintaining our democracy in South Africa. Sorry, I just want to put a punt in here for one of our friends. The guys over at the Daily Friend, the publication from the Institute of Race Relations, have this morning published an article on why even people who hate guns should be completely against the new Firearms Control Amendment Bill, the proposed Firearms Control Amendment Bill, because it's just such bad law.
It starts off in the preamble already saying we used to have the right to life. It changes to control from the state side. If you just look at the preamble in terms of the change.
They now mention, instead of talking about acknowledging the constitutional right to life, they start off by mentioning the imperatives of the state. 4 times in the preamble. 4 times they mention the state in the preamble.
It was very scary when I read it for the first time.
It's insidious. They're trying to recast South Africa's democracy. Some people have made the point that we're a republic, we're not a democracy. That's in fact incorrect. We're a representative democracy. Although we are a republic, the terms are not mutually exclusive. But that's getting into philosophical territory, perhaps. What we've seen happen over the last 2 weeks, and I predict we're going to see more of the same happening, perhaps on a different scale over the next week or so, or a couple of weeks at least, is a demonstration of how firearms in civilian hands are essential to maintaining a free democratic state. So it's quite exciting times for us, because who would have thought? A month ago, none of us could have potentially foreseen that what we've been speculating about for years and years, and what people have been poo-pooing us for, would actually become reality.
What else do you think that is going to happen in terms of, I know you, GOSA specifically wants to move towards license the person, register the firearm. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
And I think that's where the debate must move to naturally. I think that the time for defending our position has almost passed, because I think the events of the past couple of weeks have proven beyond any possible doubt that firearms in lawful hands are absolutely crucial to the maintenance of democracy. And to the preservation of our society as we know it. So I think that the debate has almost passed the point where people can reasonably suggest that firearms aren't a massive benefit to society. So the debate now needs to move on to what now. We have to recognize that the Firearms Control Act is perhaps needs to be altered in such a way that it makes it possible for the police to address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room, of course, is unlawful firearms, illegally held firearms. The Act at the moment makes absolutely no reference to that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think we've seen that is where the problem lies. That's where the problem has always lied, but it's been obfuscated, and and trivialized by the people who've been screeching hysterically for all firearms to be removed from society. And that's just not possible. That's just not possible. It's not desirable, as we've seen from the last couple of weeks. Firearms have a very definite place in society, in lawful hands. And so I think we need to move on to now, how do we solve the problems that are firearms in this country? And that is unlawfully held firearms, but it's also the administration of the Act. The administration of the Act sits with this SAPS, who are, if they weren't actively complicit in the events of the last couple of weeks in KZN, if they didn't actually have a part in creating the situation that we saw, which has now been openly acknowledged by the president, at least, as an attempted coup, an insurrection, but is probably more accurately described as sedition. If the police weren't active participants, or certainly elements within the police weren't active participants in that, they certainly were completely ineffective in standing against it, whereas lawfully armed citizens were the major force in the maintenance of law and order. We have to start moving towards the rule of law, away from this idea that we're a monarchy or an oligarchy or some kind of benevolent dictatorship of the ruling party. We have to start moving towards the rule of law. We have to start moving towards protecting the rule of law, and we have to start moving towards allowing citizens easier and more efficient access to the firearms that they deserve to have. They have a right to firearms in South Africa. The right is not enshrined in the Constitution, but neither is the right to own Toyotas.
No. If you actually look at one of the things that Gun Free South Africa brings up the whole time is that one incident in the High Court?
In the Constitutional Court.
Constitutional Court, where they said that it's not a right, we don't have the right to firearms.
Well, the High Court has, or the Constitutional Court has no say on what our rights are at all. Our rights aren't dependent on a court's judgment. Our rights are something which we have as a natural consequence of being born. It's called natural law. The courts should be based on, should be upholding natural law. Instead, some activist jurists in the courts have been promoting what is referred to as positive law, which is a Marxist concept, whereby the state determines what your rights are. And this was as of the 17th century, or no, hell, when was the Magna Carta? I think it was 1215. So the 13th century in England, where the monarchy agreed that the citizens had rights in their own respect, and they created the Magna Carta and recognized the rights of the citizens as a consequence of natural law. So we're finding ourselves at that place at the moment. 800 years later, we're sort of having our Magna Carta moment. We have to decide now whether our Constitution is our supreme law, whether the Constitution is based in natural law, or whether the Constitution is going to prescribe to us exactly what we may and may not do.
That's absolutely the thing with positive law, is that there's people that think they're basically superior to anybody else.
Correct.
And that they will make all decisions for people's personal decision making, which I'm personally very much against as well. And we're seeing that happen a lot lately in the world and in South Africa, absolutely. And it's got an influence on our rights to own firearms.
Well, it'll have an influence on everything in our lives. This insidious slide towards positive law is the end of our democracy as we know it. It's the beginning of a dark period, our own South Africa's own dark ages, as it were. We have to get past this. We have to consign positive law to the dustbin of history.
Thank you very much for being with us today, Paul.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you, the audience as well.
If anybody's got any remarks, please post it on the video, like this video, and also like the channel. And if you have comments we can or questions, we can answer it next time, same time next week. Thank you very much.